daughters, sisters, and wives. He says they're gonna change our lives. He says be women, be girls. They'll make a better world. Invest in her. Invest in her. Invest in her. Invest in her. And now here's your host, Catherine Gray.
Hi, welcome to this week's edition of Invest in Her. I'm your host, Catherine Gray. I'm the founder of She Angel Investors and co-founder of the She Angels Foundation, and we are on a mission to help fund women. And speaking of that, today I have on a very exciting guest. She's an amazing entrepreneur. She founded a product that was needed in a specific niche market that didn't exist. And we are going to talk about that. I want to welcome to the show the founder of Xena Workwear, Anastasia Kraft. Hi, Anastasia.
Hi, Catherine. Thank you so much for having me today.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. You know, I just love meeting extraordinary entrepreneurs who, you know, see that there's something that doesn't exist that they actually need themselves. And then they actually go and design and create it and manufacture it and distribute it. I am like always blown away by that kind of, you know, chutzpah. So
yeah, I love that as well. And that's partly how I was inspired to solve the problem by seeing other people identifying issues in their life, and the US is the perfect environment to start a business. So
absolutely. Well, I want to talk about what that product is, but first, I always like people to get to know my guest, and you have an interesting background. Let's tell everybody where you were born and how you made your way to the US.
Yeah, the short answer is always I'm from Germany, but the longer story is I was actually born in Kazakhstan. And moved to Germany when I was 10 years old with my family. My dad had German roots, and so Germany was bringing a lot of people back who had some sort of German roots, and that's how I came to Germany in 2000. It was a very interesting experience growing up in Kazakhstan. It's a very different culture, and then moving to Germany, that was a culture shock in the beginning, but a positive one. I loved going to school, picked up German very quickly, and decided to go into engineering. So I studied international project engineering, which was perfect for me because it combined over 50% different engineering subjects, and the other less than 50% were different languages and project management and innovation management. So I could not have studied only physics or only Spanish, and that was this perfect program that was almost designed for me. Because I was interested in so many different topics.
I love that. And I love that you were born in Kazakhstan. And, you know, I think a lot of people didn't even know if like that was a real place because of the Borat movie, right?
Yeah. Oh, you know, before that movie, nobody knew where Kazakhstan
where you were born. I bet. I know. And then you were like, oh, I don't want anybody to know, you know. That movie was so crazy.
Yeah, it was a little crazy.
It actually did put it on the map. So that's funny that you were actually born there. And then grew up in Germany, as you just said. So I imagine it was a little bit of culture shock when you came to the US, but maybe in a good way.
Yeah, definitely. So the reason why I came to the US was because it was an international program. We all had to do our internships abroad. So I applied in so many different countries and in Asia and South America, and I was looking for something very exotic. And then out of the offers that I received, I actually accepted the one in Waukesha, Wisconsin. And people who know Wisconsin, it's a very small town here in Wisconsin, and I worked at a German steel cutting tool facility, which was incredibly interesting. But that is
a manufacturing company.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So and what made you decide to pick Wisconsin, like of all your choices?
Yeah, the other choice was in Central America, and it was for a solar company. I was very passionate about the product and the company, but the situation in El Salvador was very dangerous at the time, and they said you will be getting this beautiful house right at the beach, but you will not be able to go anywhere without other people, without assistance. I'm like, I love freedom, and I would hate to be stuck in a house and That's why I decided to come to the US. The position sounded incredibly interesting. And just looking at the map of the United States, love to travel. You have everything you want here. You have mountains, forests, beaches, deserts. So it was just the perfect place for me to explore. And I honestly fell in love with Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's a hidden gem for people who have never been here. I would highly recommend to come visit, as after the economy will reopen, after the vaccines will be rolled out, and more places will reopen. Like Milwaukee's a gorgeous, gorgeous place.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've never been there, but I have heard that. So I'll have to put that on the list of travel destinations. So that's where you are now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And so let's get into this. So you were a project engineer and you saw a need for a product that didn't exist. Let's talk about that, because there are so many male dominated industries like manufacturing, and then this product that you came up with also spilled over into a need in other industries like the car industry, the nuclear industry, aerospace. So let's talk about what that product was that you saw there was a need for, so you designed and created it.
That's a great question. When I moved to the US after I finished my degree and moved to the US to work for this project management consulting company, I was focused to work in manufacturing, with manufacturing clients specifically, and my responsibility was to help them develop multi-million-dollar project plans for highly critical projects. And it was almost part of my contract that I had to dress professionally. So I was, in many cases, the only woman in the room with 10 to 20 engineers. And I had to be confident. I had to dress professionally. Learned so much during that whole experience. I love working manufacturing. And then the challenge was that every time we wrapped up those meetings, all the guys would say, all right, great meeting. Let's go out on the manufacturing floor and just check on that project that we just discussed. And people who have ever worked in manufacturing and construction jobs, they know you need PPE, you need steel-toed boots. So was the only one who had to run back to my desk and put on my clunky, terrible safety boots that were actually designed for men. And I felt incredibly uncomfortable. I felt like a clown walking through the shop floor. And I found out that I was not the only one with this frustration, because after doing some research, I found out a lot of the safety shoe companies applied the shrink it and pink it concept, where they take a men's boot, make it smaller, and make it pink or purple and sell it as women's. Well, a clunky pink boot does not actually help me feel confident in a room of engineers leading incredibly important projects. So it kind of started out of my own frustration. And that was the first step to say, I want to create a better product for women that will help them not only to be safe, but also be confident, because that is an incredibly important factor, especially working in male dominated industries.
Yeah. So on your site, Xena Workwear, you have the boots I saw that you developed that are made for women in these various industries. Like we said, the car industry, nuclear industry, aerospace, and I'm sure others, like you said, construction or whatever, where, women need to wear this paraphernalia that is made for men, but they were just making it in a smaller size, but it really didn't fit. It looked clunky and it was uncomfortable. And, so I think it's brilliant that you said, this doesn't exist, so I'm just going to create it. Tell us that process, because I know you had to research it and design it and get it manufactured. Like, how did you do that?
Yeah. Oh, really good question that I get asked a lot. Like, how did I don't have a safety shoe or footwear background at all. People say, like, how did you just design safety shoes? So in the beginning, first of all, I talked to a lot of women and to make sure, like, is this an actual need, or am I the only one who's so frustrated? And after conducting different focus groups and talking to so many different women across the US and in Germany, and identifying, yes, there's a clear need for better steel-toed boots. I did some research on what are the actual safety standards in the United States, and here they're called ESCM standards, and every country has its own standards. Europe has its own set of standards. So in the beginning, I did a lot of research. I wrote a business plan tried to learn like what are the boundaries that I'm working with. Like how can I create a stylish shoe that will still meet all the different safety features? And after I learned that, I kind of sketched the shoes myself, like roughly what I wanted to see, and then found a shoe designer on Upwork. She's wonderful. She has been traveling all over the world, but it was incredibly reliable. She just created our beautiful
And how did
design.
you find this shoe designer?
It's a platform called Upwork. So you can find different freelancers online depending on your need. And we happened to find this wonderful woman who helped us create a tech pack that we then took to a manufacturer in Mexico. And so told them I had to pitch 5 different manufacturers. All of them wanted to work with us, and we selected one that I thought would be the best fit for us. So it took us a while, about a year, to develop 5 different prototypes until I was finally happy with the model that we then had to send in for testing. Another aspect is these shoes have to go through a lot of testing. So they test the steel toe cap, so they drop a weight on it to make sure it can protect your toes and if something falls. They test for slip resistance, they burn them for heat resistance and chemical resistance. There's a lot of testing the boots go through. So yeah, and after we passed that, we kind of decided to build out the website finally, and launch with one product in May of 2019.
Wow. And do you have other products in the pipeline?
Yeah, we since then we developed more beautiful products for people who can. If you can see the video, I'm showing one of the first model that we created, the Gravity shoe. It's designed for engineers. It has a small heel based on Canadian safety standards, a protective toe cap, and then since then we listened to women's feedback and created a safety boot that has a lower heel, more ankle coverage, an electric hazard certification. And so, yeah, we have 5 models now and are working on 2 more, one for women in construction specifically, and another one for women in manufacturing and food production, hospitality, these type of roles.
That's fantastic. I love that. Wow, you are so bold. So you went to Mexico and met with these manufacturers and had them create the prototype, and now they make them for you. And do they do the fulfillment, or you have to find another company that does that?
We get the boots delivered to our warehouse here in Milwaukee. Initially, it was in a different part of the US, but we realized it's so important to have the control. When it got really busy during a holiday season, we could not help out at the warehouse. So now most of the days I have different roles, like recording a podcast or developing a new product. And there are other days where we show up at the warehouse, make sure everything's organized or help ship. So we wear so many different hats. So we fulfill through the help of our warehouse, and our website is the main driver of sales, XenaWorkwear.com.
That's great. How did you come up with the name Xena Wear?
Oh my God. Yeah. We were brainstorming different names, and I asked my friends, like, okay, I'm looking for a name that sounds like a badass woman. And they threw out different options, and Xena stuck with me, and I'm like, okay, Xena it is. And yeah, the rest is history. Then
I mean, I love it. It's perfect. It's like Xena the Warrior. I get it. I mean, that was a perfect name. I was just wondering how you came up with it.
Yeah, exactly.
So the next step is that you're looking for funding to scale the business. So you'll be pitching to possible investors, maybe venture capital, right? Do you know which way you're going to go? Because, I always talk about this, that there's so many different ways that people can grow their business. It could be an SBA loan, small business loan. It could be a crowdfunding is a new way too. Of course, getting angel investors. And then venture capital, which can really be a challenge for women because we get less than 2% of venture capital, and you have to be really already off and running in a big way to get venture capital typically, although more and more are popping up. There are some out there that are specifically catering to women, like Golden Seeds and OSEA, which is in Orange County, Portfolio. So there are different ones that are popping up that are trying to get behind women-founded businesses, but it is difficult. Do you know which route you're going to go? And perhaps if anybody's listening on the podcast that thinks, hey, this is really a cool idea, I'd love to get behind it and get in on the ground floor. What type of investment are you looking for?
We're still deciding. I think we will go the VC route, and we raised our seed round through venture capital in 2019.
Wow,
and
that's impressive.
It was difficult. I can 100% relate to the fact that it's very challenging for women, because most of the time when I showed up at the pitch event, there were about 30 to 50 men who were incredibly interested in tech companies, who did not get our concept. They're like, shoes for women, steel toes, like, what is that? But luckily, we were able to find a lead investor who saw the potential. We're incredibly happy with them. They're based in Chicago, called Starting Line. Yeah, and I would love to get more women involved in the next round, because I think those women who invested in us, they're incredibly passionate about what we're doing and are helping us along the way. And I think it should also be a message to more women, like, I think more women should go into this investment world. I would love to do that in the future as well. I think not enough women learn even about stock investing and how to become an angel investor. And I love that you provide this platform where more women can learn how to be part of this entrepreneurial culture and fun businesses.
You know what? I love what you're saying, because one of the things you just said is one thing I really believe in is once I become a super successful businesswoman, I want to be an angel investor. And that is the best advice you could be giving to people, is to say, hey, if you are a successful woman, there are other options than just investing in stocks or bonds or even real estate, that you could invest in another woman's business. And this is an amazing one that you have. It's such a specialized niche, and it's just brilliant that they could get behind you, the Xena Workwear, and be a part of something that they invest in, and then you win, they win, because they're an investor. They can benefit from it, monetize it. And so it's very exciting for women to become angel investors. They get to hear about all kinds of innovations like yours that they otherwise wouldn't probably even know about. And let's face it, many women throughout the centuries and decades have invented things that have helped change the world and made it a better place. But you also hit on a really key important thing, what you just said, and that is when you go to pitch to venture capital, and these limited partners are predominantly men. That is why it is predominantly men that get funded, because people tend to invest in people they identify with, which is why we need more women in the investment world at those pitch tables, so that you're pitching to women that say, you know, Anna, I totally get what you're doing. This is a beautiful thing. You're filling a great niche. And there are hundreds of thousands of women in these various industries that you mentioned that you provide these footwear for, which, like we said, nuclear industry, scientists, aerospace, the car industry, all kinds of manufacturing. And let's face it, manufacturing is one of the biggest, most lucrative niches in our country. And so what a huge demand as more and more women enter all of these verticals, for you to have a product that didn't exist that you can supply to them. Do you have anybody calling on companies to buy these in bulk?
That's actually something that we just started doing this year, because we're a very small team. We're 3.5 people and outsource a lot of the things along the way.
I want to see a half person.
she's a student, so we will so she worked for us part-time, and we're super happy to onboard her full-time in June, so we will be 4 full people. Yeah, like the B2B side takes a little bit more time, but this year we finally saw that it's actually working. Our
Yeah, and
strongest
there
side
might be
was
somebody out there listening that might say, "Hey, that's my forte. I could help them grow that." So,
that would
I'm
be amazing
yeah, that would be
because
amazing.
that is something that we want to focus on this year. We've been very successful on the e-commerce side. Women who discover us decide, I will not wait for the shoe truck to come to my site and offer me like 3 terrible options of safety shoes. I will buy these shoes myself because I love my job. I want to be comfortable. I want to feel confident and be safe. So in most cases, women who love their jobs and are very proud of what they do decide like I'm getting Xena's. But now they started talking to their companies and said, let's add Xena as a preferred vendor or as one of the safety shoe vendors or PPE vendors. And those women are the drivers that help more women get access to PPE that actually fits right, helps them focus on their job instead of being distracted.
Right.
Like if people read our reviews, you can see how much it impacts how women feel. So the goal is to help women just get the job done, be successful, show up with confidence instead of being distracted by poorly fitting shoes. So
Right, and feel comfortable.
mhm.
Talking about, our philosophy is about women helping women, women investing in women. And one of the things that is important is if there's people out there that work for these companies, is to, like you said, go to their heads and say, hey, we would like to make Xena a preferred vendor for our women on our team. So it is about that too, about women finding you in those niches online, but also going to the heads of their companies and saying, we would like to have this as our preferred vendor. So lots of opportunity there too. So as we're wrapping up, how can people find you? XenaWorkwear.com.
Yeah, and Xena spelled with Xena. You can find us um, on Facebook, Instagram. We're not super active on Twitter. We try to balance that all out. But yeah, the website is xenaworkwear.com, or feel free to send me an email, anastasia@xenaworkwear.com. I'm always happy to connect, especially if people are here in Milwaukee. I'm on LinkedIn under Anastasia Kraft. I'm always happy to connect and learn more about women's needs. We want to be the company that listens to what is needed for women in these industries, since we started expanding into additional workwear as well, and want to help women along the way. And thank you so much for sharing the message. You're doing such an important job to inspire more women to become investors, and you help the women running businesses to get the word out there. Thank you so much. This is wonderful.
Oh, thank you, Anastasia. Well, I really applaud the work you're doing. I hope if there's women out there that are in these industries and they need products created, that they'll reach out to you, or that they're working for companies that need these products and they reach out to you, or they're a super successful woman who wants to give back and pay forward and help another woman build and scale her business. And for that reason, to also reach out to Anna Kraft of Xena Workwear. I am so impressed with what you're doing. I can't wait to see you just scale and soar this incredible business. And thank you so much for being on today. Everyone, of course, remember to also follow us on social media, Invest in Her on Instagram, and also our She Angel Investors on all of the Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. And be sure to follow Xena Workwear as well. Remember, ladies, to invest in her. Thanks so much for tuning in, and make it a great day. Thank you, Anna. Wishing you all the best.
Thank you so much, Catherine.
Our theme music was created and produced by Lindsay Tomasic.